So, on Friday, you talked about color schemes. You talked about different kinds of color schemes. So today what you're going to do is make some examples of color schemes. And you are going to make them in your book using one of the symbols as your image. Now, if you don't like your symbols, or if you want to redo them a little bit, or you want to come up with a new one, that's fine. That's your choice. And if you want to do a different symbol for each one, that's okay. So, note-wise, just this is going to be a little bit different. You're going to watch and see what you're going to do. So 20 was color schemes, correct? All right. So 21 is going to be an analogous color scheme. So write that down. And I spent a little time this morning coming up with, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I'll be truthful. But here's what you're going to do in your book. I put my number. I'll kind of outline this again. I did this ahead of time in pencil. And this is your analogous. This is the one that people misspell, and this is the one they forget. Tell your partner if you remember, I know Friday was a long time ago, if you remember what an analogous color scheme is. And if you don't, get your notes out and look. Or if you don't have it in your notes, it would be on page, which 145? Yes, 145. So analogous colors, as it says, are colors that sit side by side on the color wheel. And here's my symbol. I will kind of outline it a little bit so you can see it. What I did was kind of do a stylized letter. Stylized means you make it a little more abstract. It's not perfectly. So since my first name is Gloria, and there are different ways you can make G's, but I like to think of myself as somebody that's kind of an active, flowing, tender-hearted person. And so I think that curved line is a good way to express my personality. So here's the G. I'm writing on top of something. So there's the G right there. And then you know I've said over and over again I'm a zigzag. So I added a Z right here. So this is my zigzag line. So you have my initials for GZ. Can you see that? And then I just added a circle because that's kind of my sign for being one with the entire world and enjoying diversity and being a part of a whole, etc. So circle is just kind of a symbol. So there's my symbol. Now, what I need to do for my symbol here is an analogous color scheme. So that I have lots of options, but you have to limit it to a certain number of colors. So I think what I'm going to choose to do, and I got some different media just to kind of get you thinking about it. I think for my color scheme, I'm going to do, what do I want to do? I think I'll do a yellow-orange, kind of yellow, green, green. So you're going to pick colors that are right in a row with each other. Okay? So I'm going to choose crayons for this one. I don't know why. Hopefully I've got the right colors. Okay, I've got no yellow in this box. So there's yellow, green. I said that was going to be one of my colors. Here's green. These are glitters. What else did I say I was going to use? Green, yellow, and yellow orange. Uh-oh. Guess I should have checked before. Doesn't really seem to be a yellow in here. So I'll use I'll mix my mediums. I'm gonna look at these. I don't know if any of you've used these Caran d'Arches. These are my daughter's favorite. Okay, there's a good yellow in here. I'm going to use that. These are kind of like crayons, but they're a little bit different. And then, what was the last color? A yellow orange. Don't really have, so I'm going to make one by mixing these. So, I'm not thinking a whole lot. I'm going to tell you the truth. So I'm going to start with this red. And I'm going to put a thin layer of red on here. I'm using the Caran d'Arches. So, you know, it's what's called mixed media. Color that in. Probably would work on this a little bit for good craftsmanship. I'm going to go kind of quickly. Not for good craftsmanship. This is not good craftsmanship. And let me comment, I noticed on Thursday, it was just really fairly quiet in here and everybody was working really hard. So I want to commend you on your work ethic. Now to make yellow orange, what I'm going to have to do is mix it. And Caran d'Arches, that's one thing they do really well is mix. So if you want to mix a color, you do that. You can mix crayon too. It's a little trickier to mix them, but you can get some cool effects. So I'm getting kind of a yellow orange. I don't know what it looks like on the screen, but and I noticed a lot of you have been covering up the paper, and that's okay, but you don't need to. I kind of like the idea of the print showing through. It's kind of sometimes some surprising things can happen. I did a piece one time where I put it on a map, and the piece was about my daughter, and I didn't realize till the end that it was a map that had a town in it named Laurel, and my daughter's name is Laurel, and so she was right. She was right smack dab. The piece was about her, and she was right smack dab in the middle of the map. Okay, now if I want to blend it further, another thing you can do with the Caran d'Arches, these are, unlike crayons, these are water soluble, which means you can go back in if you want to, and you can blend it even more just by adding a little. I'm not adding much water. I don't want to get this too wet. Right now, I'm having fun. Most of the time, I'm just teaching, so it's nice for me. One of the reasons I think I'm an artist and an art teacher is I just love working with mediums. It makes me happy. Now, if you weren't happy with that color, you can still come back with these colors and go into it when it's wet too, and blend a little bit more. So one of the purposes in this class, or one of the things I want you to be doing, is experimenting with a lot of different materials. Because when we just do these small projects, you've got time to kind of play around. So try and get a lot of variety into your work. Okay, so what are my colors again? Yellow, green, green. I think for the Z, I'll use one of what's going to be a stronger color. I'm going to use a glitter crayon for my green. Kind of make that Z. The Z is a little more lively. That's the lively part of me. Zigzags back and forth. And remember, to any color scheme that you have, you can add what and what. Black and white, thank you. So I might choose, I don't know if I can find a black in here, real quickly. I don't know what color this is. This is Deep Space Sparkle. If I want to outline, this is kind of a black, it's a gray, it's not as a black, nah, I think it's gray. So if you want to outline, I can do that. Okay, so that's not a very good view, but good enough for now. Okay, another color that I need to include would be yellow. So I can do this in yellow. And I'd probably outline that too. Maybe I'd choose to use a Sharpie at this point. I don't know how well it's going to go. I've already got a lot of lead on there, so that's not working very well. I have to kind of do that. So yellow, yellow, orange, yellow, green, and green. I'm missing yellow, green, right? All right, so now yellow, green could be an outline around the edge here, or it could be, it's going to take a while, it could be just coloring in the background. I could also maybe make my letters a part of the color scheme. Not the yellowest of greens. So let me add, maybe I'll start with a little bit of green, although I didn't start. And then I'd write that. I'm not going to do that right now. But I'm going to make that a little more yellowish, greenish. And here's an example where you actually can mix the crayons. Just don't press down really hard. Okay, now I don't want to take the time to color all that background in. So maybe what I'll do is get out the watercolors and do a lighter, and because watercolors are going to go on more thin, I can do a yellow orange again, but do it in a what we call a wash, which is a thin coat of paint. All right, don't do as I'm doing. I'm gonna do what I tell you never to do, but I will clean this up later. Put a little yellow in with the orange. So I'm still using the same color, but it's gonna maybe it's a little yellowish there. I don't think it's too bad. That's all right. So it's somewhere between a yellow and an orange. And then I can just go ahead and color this in. Ta-da! I have an assignment done. Now you think that was quick. No, I did a little prep work, so it took a little bit longer, right? And I haven't finished it. So, but there's an example of an analogous color scheme using some different materials. All right, so that's 21. I've used a symbol. Now, to cut down on preparation time, because I had other classes to prepare for, my art history, for example, I had already done my I'd already spent time getting my symbol laid out. Too much. So I think I'm going to leave this part at the bottom. Maybe I'm going to add the yellow-green here. It was interesting. I went with a friend to the art museums in New York City, and she said to me, how do artists work? You know, do they know in advance what they're going to do? Or, you know, do they make it up as they go? And I think in most situations, there are different artists work differently. Some artists will start working actually without a plan, and it evolves as they're working. Most artists, though, and will start with a plan. I had a plan here, but I didn't exactly know what colors I was going to use and everything. They start with a plan and then they change it as they go along. So probably what I would do here, this seems a little empty, after I wrote analogous color scheme, that might end up being a Sharpie. I don't know what that's going to be yet. Maybe a colored pencil. That might work the best. And then I maybe will pick an opposing color like an orange. And I'll just do it. I'll pretend like this part's done. I may regret it later. Yeah. I'm going to do a darker color down here to kind of separate that. And you can look at these later because you're probably not seeing it really well. I don't know. What does it look like? Yeah, it isn't total effectiveness. So I make sure you look at it later. But there's my analogous colors scheme page. Okay? Questions so far? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate one more. Still got plenty of time. And then I'll demonstrate the other two in my other class. So it's going to be a little wet. Dry, 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 dry. And you know if I put it together here, it's going to print onto that other page, right? Now I started this and I didn't realize that my student had this is an old book that someone did last year that left it here. So this is when he's getting toward the end and he skipped a page and I didn't realize it or I would have started afterwards. So those were his final 2 pages, and then he wrote the end. You will get there. Okay, number 22. And you probably just want to write this down so you know what you're going to do. 22 is going to be a triad color scheme. And one of the things I'm choosing to do, as you see here, is I'm kind of incorporating the number and the label. With the first 10 pages, I noticed a lot of people were missing the numbers and the labels. So don't forget that. So here, I've done the 22. I've repeated it several times. So I'm trying to figure out different ways that I can incorporate the 22 and the label. So the label would be triad, and spell triad correctly. It's tri, T-R-I, if you sound it out. A lot of people put trade on this one. I don't know why. So they mix the A and the I, 2 vowels maybe. But it's tri with an I, add. And the other videos that I do in the class tomorrow, I'll do this one in class later on in the day. I will put both of them on the internet, so if you on YouTube. So I think now I don't have an iPhone. I'm not sophisticated that way. But what I'm doing when I upload them is I convert them for an iPhone. So probably some of you, if you have iPhones, can watch these videos on your iPhone. And I think if you just Google Zmolek, actually my brother has videos. He's a dance instructor in Idaho, so he may have some videos as well. But there aren't a lot of Zmolek videos on YouTube. But Zmolek Design or something like that, you should be able to find my videos, or they're linked on the webpage. Okay, so triad is what? Remind your neighbor right now. Turn to them and say, "What is?" Tell them what a triad color scheme is. Yes, I heard the right answer. So there are 3 colors spaced equally apart. So, what would be an example? Looking at your color wheel. You started with yellow. You skip 3, and you get what?
Red.
Skip 3 and
Blue.
Okay, that's 1. What if you start with yellow-orange? Red-violet, blue-green. You are quick. Okay, what if you start with orange?
Violet.
Violet and green. Notice those are the secondary colors. Alright, so we've got a primary color one. That would be a triad color scheme. Secondary would be a triad. We already did one of the tertiary color schemes, which is red-orange, red-violet, and blue-green. And then there's a third one, which is red-orange, 1, 2, 3, blue-violet, 1, 2, 3, yellow-green. Okay? So you've got 3 choices. Don't write notes to each other. That will keep you distracted from my class. All right? So you're going to choose one of those. You've got 4 choices. So, and when you do those are the only colors that you can use, right? Don't put any other colors in, it will not be correct. You can use black, you can use white, but that's it. Okay, so that's number 22. On to 23, and what is that? If you've got your packets out, you know which one, what the next one is. Tell your neighbor, what's 23?
You have your packet.
All right, and hopefully you're telling your partner number 23 is. I hope this little thing doesn't stay here. 23 is what? I don't hear it. Talk a little louder. Did I hear a complimentary? Thank you. You're my hero today. All right. You can still be my hero too. I have lots of heroes. So, all right. So number 23 is going to be. Now notice what I did here. I changed my symbol. And the other thing I want you to notice. Look how I wrote 23. So I'm just, I'm just kind of playing around. These aren't things I spend a lot of time thinking about, but I think, how can I write 23 differently? Where am I going to put it? How's it going to fit in? Those are things that designers do. And what did I do down here? I used the image that was already in the book. This O was part of the book because they're talking about nature's geometry, whatever that means. Okay? And because of the way my symbol fit in the book, I put my circle, whoops, it's not a great circle. I can't draw a perfect circle. I put my circle there, and I moved my Z this time. Because I get very bored with things always being the same. So I decided to change my symbol just a little bit. And that came from doing it over and over again. And when you repeat something over and over again, you start thinking of different ways you can do it. Because to me, I get bored if I repeat myself. And that's why, I guess, one of the reasons why I'm an artist is because I like change, I like differences, I like variety. Part of who I am. When I shovel the sidewalk, never do it the same way. Okay? So I changed my symbol a little bit there. And like I said here, I used the O that was existing. I liked that little image in the book, so I left it there. Okay, so that's complementary. Now, the last one, and we haven't really talked about this one. So most of you know this already, but what number 24 is, I want your symbol to be the warm colors and the background to be the cool colors. All right? So, in order to do that, you have to know the difference between a warm color and a cool color. And we haven't really defined that. I'm hoping most of you already know that from elementary school. All right, so what are the warm colors and what are the cool colors? Tell your partner if you know.
Red, orange, and yellow, orange. Cold colors would be blue, purple, violet, blue, violet. Maybe blue, green. No, that's one bright top of yellow. Yeah, it's like maybe
And
blue
I
is
think
more lighter.
the warm colors right here. If you turn to page 148, they have divided, the warm colors are over here, the cool colors are over here. Now, in my humble opinion, I feel like this color's a little bit warm and this color's a little bit cool. Okay? So it seems to me technically it might be more appropriate to divide it right there. Because these are kind of borderline warm and cool. These aren't as distinctive. But the ones we think of, the main ones we think of as warm in color are yellow, orange, and red. Okay? So those are the ones that are warm. So that's what your symbol is going to be. Your symbol, and you can write this down if you want to remember, your symbol will be yellow, orange, and red. And then in the background, I want you to use the three main cool colors, which will be green, blue. See, this is why, to me, that's violet. Violet. All right? So, for that one, what that means, and you can write down what you need to label it to. 24, write down warm symbol, and write down cool background. And this time, I just decided to do 2 circles. So you notice, as I go along this morning, as I was putting these into my book, I just kept changing. Because I just like change. Just like when I was dancing this weekend, my favorite partners when I dance are the ones who will improvise, will change when they dance. They don't just lead me in the same patterns over and over and over again. They'll change. And they'll allow me to change. Leads can be very, when you're following in a dance and you're being led. And I created a boundary here. It's not a square. Who says it has to be? So I defined where my background is going to be. All right, let's see if I can do this super fast. So the warm colors, I think I'm going to do the Ferranda arch. This will be the easiest. Here's red. Will not complete this during your lecture. You're getting the idea. I'm going to make the Z yellow. Orange in it. The person that's taping, I appreciate you wanting to get your work done. However, whoopsie. It's a little distracting. So if you could hold back a little bit. Oh, I brought colored pencils up here too, so I'll probably use those this afternoon. Where's my other box? I don't seem to have an orange, so I'm going to have to make an orange. So I'm going to mix, I'm going to put a little red down, Now when I do it and I'm mixing it, don't put a lot of red down. It'll be hard to get that change. So now I'm going to mix that and I'm going to get, hopefully, an orange. Who's talking? Kindly, unless you have a question. Does somebody have a question? I know I haven't been looking up much. Okay, you see that? This will be red. Then the background, I'm going to have to figure out how to divide the background up so I get all the cool colors. So looking at it, practically speaking, so I can get blue, green, and orange. Do I have those? Or blue, green, and violet, I'm sorry. This can be green here. Because that's part of the background. That's everything that's not the symbol. And then blue could be here. Because I've got a little defined space inside here. And I'm not going to finish this one for you. Give you more time to work. And then finally, the rest of the background could be violet. So then I'm going to have all my background is going to be cool colors. My symbol is going to be warm colors. Okie dokie. Anybody have any questions? All right. You have the rest of the period to work. Those of you that have not had your books graded, I need to